Hello and welcome to the Rockies Now podcast. This is a Colorado Rockies podcast. We're no professionals here, but we love our Rockies baseball. Good to see you, Adam. Good to see you, Tom. And we're drinking some Rockies Kool-Aid right now, as Adam, as we all are on this wonderful Thursday. We're going to jump right into the things of Rockies baseball today. We had the Rockies had their press conference with Paul DePodesta. And I'm going to kick it off right here. First off with Tom. Tom, what did you think of the press conference?
Well, it was better than most recent press conferences. It didn't have any particular jokes that made me chuckle, like the one for Chris Bryant, the introductory one for Chris Bryant. And you know which joke I'm referring to. But anyway, it was different. I think in previous press conferences that we're used to, I thought the press was good and bad at some junctures of the press conference. It was funny seeing Dick Monfort there sitting with his kind of a grumpy grandpa face, just kind of going along with what was happening there. But to give credit to Walker, he did say the quiet part out loud that he actually acknowledged the frustration of all the fans and everybody else out there who support the Rockies. So with Paul, I'll give you more in-depth details. But again, he did what he could. He did a good job. He's different than what we've had in our previous GMs, as we talked to in our pre-show meeting. So at the end of the day, I think his first few moves are going to be very telling as to what could be expected of him in his leadership style. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. All in all, good and bad, but well, again, actions speak louder than words, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I told the guys right before we started, I thought it was at first very awkward just seeing Dick Monfort there and just like, oh, please, Dick, don't say a comment that's just going to make things awkward. And there was that comment where he's like, well, I think they're pushing me out. It was just like, yeah. No, I thought DePodesta did a great job, answered all the questions correctly. I think one of my favorite comments from him was like one of the questions was like analytics and allocating money. And he quietly said, yeah, the Rockies have not been spending it in the right ways. We have money, and people say this all the time. As a matter of fact, we had some people comment on our posts on Instagram today saying, well, the Rockies are not going to spend money this offseason, or they never spend money. Well, sorry, bud, but you don't watch Rockies baseball. The Rockies have spent money. They do have money. It's where they allocate it. And Paul DePodesta is going to be the guy that's going to be overseeing that, where the Rockies are going to be spending money, where they're going to be allocating it. And of course, we already know that a lot of it's going to go heavily into analytics, drafting and developing players, which has been an issue for the Rockies for X and X amount of years. This is great news, guys. And I am super excited to see where this goes. As in the title of our episode today, this is a new era for Rockies baseball, and truly this is I think going to be a good era for Rockies baseball. And you can talk all you want about the Cleveland Browns situation and his previous tenures. He's very bold, and this is, I think, it's risky, but this is a move that I don't think the Rockies a year ago would have made. I think not only losing 119 games, really they had to look on the inside, but not only that, but I feel like Walker Monfort really said a lot of great things today as well. As you said, Tom, nailed it when it came to understanding the fans' frustration, but really understanding that the Rockies need to go outside the organization. And all in all, like Adam, you mentioned it, we mentioned it on our very first podcast of the offseason. What did the Rockies need to do? What was the first thing they needed to do, right? Go out and get a president of baseball operations. They did that. They went outside, got Paul DePodesta. Now the question is, are they going to get a GM manager? And I know we have this comment here. Are we hiring a GM or not? I was confused by his answer. I was at first a little bit. I'm like, wait a second. He mentioned manager, but then I think there was a follow-up question later on where he did say general manager. So I think he's going to hire his GM. Again, I think Patrick Saunders of the Denver Post posted out on X this week that we might see a new GM by the end of this week or next week or one of these next few days, which is pretty quickly. But again, DePodesta, I'm sure, has many phone numbers that he's been talking to. I know he's been very, very busy being in Las Vegas for the GM meetings and everything. So a lot going on here in the Rockies world. Adam, what did you think about the press conference, and what do you think of the comments that were made from both parties, both from Dick and Walker and Paul?
Well, I would be remiss if I once again didn't say that it's so nice to be here with you guys. As always, we don't do this as often as we would like to because life gets in the way. But one day we'll be sitting in these chairs and doing this for a living, so it's all worth it, right? My answer is probably going to surprise quite a few people because I'm very opinionated and tend to be more on the negative side usually. But I didn't have an issue with that press conference from the Rockies side at all. I figured that Dick would be there. I didn't have an issue with him being there. I would have had issues had he like dominated the entire press conference or made a huge opening statement, which he didn't. And I think he acquitted himself nicely, as nice as he can anyway, in a guy in his predicament. I feel like he knows that his time of being involved in the baseball operations is now over. I think he has come to terms finally with what we have been asking him to do, which is hire baseball people to do baseball things. So hats off to Dick for now, unless something changes for that. I can feel the passion in Walker Monfort for this fan base, for this city, for the Rockies organization. And I really appreciate that from him. And one of the fears that I had with the Rockies staying in the Monfort family was that it was just going to be Dick Monfort Jr., right? Like just running things into the ground. But I really feel like despite his last name, Walker is actually pushing the Rockies in the right direction. And we know based off of that press conference that Dick probably didn't want to hire DePodesta, but his son talked him into it. So I'm very thankful for Walker for at least trying to get somebody from outside the organization, right? And as for Paul, I really like his demeanor. He seems like a super genuine guy. I really liked that he owned up to his mistakes in the past, talking about taking big swings in free agency and with that Deshaun Watson trade, which somebody rudely said was objectively a failure. I think there's a more professional way to say something like that to a man's face, but here we are. But I really was impressed by everything that he said. I've been impressed with everything that he said from the MLB Network interview to today. He hinted in there that they're already trying to sign free agents. What that looks like for the Rockies for 2026 is, a little bit of a mystery. And going into what you were talking about, Steven, with fans talking about, they're not going to spend any money. Well, the Rockies aren't in a position where they need to go out and load up on free agents right now. We still need to see what all these young players can do. Obviously, we need starting pitching. That's not up for discussion. But I don't think you're not going to see the Rockies go out and add like super big names still. I would be surprised if they did that unless they're planning on trading somebody of note from the roster, which I'm not going to make conjecture about right now. But overall, I think DePodesta is a guy that shows passion for this job. He shows genuine interest for this job. And from everything that he said, it sounds like he is going to explore all avenues for winning at Coors Field, for spending money correctly in free agency, making changes within the organization on how baseball operates. I mean, I was not very thrilled with this hire at first, but I will admit here in front of everybody that I probably just didn't know what I was talking about. And it looks like we got ourselves a good guy, and he deserves a chance here. So I'm pleased.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Again, this is the first time the Rockies have had a official president of baseball operations, because a week ago when we did the podcast, they still hadn't announced whether it was going to be the GM or the president of baseball operations until a few days ago when they officially announced on Instagram and Twitter. Again, this is the first time since 2010 the Rockies have had a president of baseball operations, and I feel like this is a new direction for the Rockies. And they mentioned in the press conference today getting a game strategy guy, which is awesome. Love it. Keep going. And there's been a lot of conversations. I know they talked about it at the GM meetings, which I think wrapped up today or yesterday. How he's going to be bringing on more people from outside the organization. And I will say that I think it's been almost confirmed that I think there are still going to be some people currently with the Rockies that will still remain in the organization. I think perhaps maybe with Sauday and Foreman, they wanted a complete teardown, fire everybody, and bring in like a bunch of people from outside the organization, which would have been nice. But I feel like, maybe the Rockies had agreement with DePodesta where DePodesta was like, fine, you can keep some of these guys like Danny Montgomery, who is the head scout, I think, or the president of scouting. And I think obviously Walker is the vice president. You can't really get rid of him. But some of these big people in the front office are going to stay around. I'm fine with Danny Montgomery. And I think Fernando Robles, or whatever his name is, he's the head, international scout for the Rockies, who I've heard he's done an incredible job in the DR leagues. But I think I'm excited to see what DePodesta is going to do with the GM. And I think there were some questions today about, okay, who's going to have power? And I think it was asked to Dick Monfort, okay, who's going to be in charge? And Dick Monfort, again, he pretty much flat out said that I am here to support Walker and Paul. Basically, it felt like, I'm giving them the keys. I'm trusting them with it. Which he didn't want to. I don't think he really wanted to say that. Again, he joked about, I think they're trying to push me out, but I think genuinely he is like a little kid who was pouty. He didn't get what he wanted. He didn't get the the president of baseball operations or the GM that he wanted. And Walker kind of, again, you said, Adam, talked him into it. And eventually, who knows? We'll see what happens. Again, there's a lot of work to do, and I will say this, and I think we all can agree with this, is that they even mentioned it. Paul mentioned it, that this is not going to be a 1 or 2 year turnaround. This is going to take time. And I think he said it best when he's like, a lot of people out there say, oh, we want to see this in 1 year, and then so some organizations fire people right away after 1 year. It's just like, it's a process. As they say in the Moneyball, it's a process. It takes years for this to happen. And one thing that I absolutely loved about Paul today is that he even mentioned about how, we want to build an organization where we don't, like, and we talked about it last week or a couple weeks ago. We can beat the Dodgers. We can beat the Diamondbacks in this division. We can do it. We have the resources to do that. We don't need to be, like Dick Monfort crybabying to get out of the National League West. While that's probably going to happen, guys, the Rockies, they have won before, and they've almost beaten the Dodgers in the NL West to win the NL West crown in 2018. We've gone to the World Series. I mean, there was a time where the Dodgers were not so very good in the division, and the Diamondbacks and the Rockies were up there. So the Rockies can win, right? And so I like those comments from Paul, that he's not afraid. He's ready to swing big. And there's a lot of risk to that, but that's the great thing. The Rockies, in a lot of years, in most, if not the entirety of their franchise, they've been scared to take big risks. And a lot of those swings and misses have been a lot from Dick Monfort calling the shots, where now Paul is going to be in charge of that. I'm super excited to see what he's going to do. I don't know who's going to be the new GM here. I know a lot of rumors floating around about Thad Levine. Somebody even said maybe James Click could come back. But I think it's probably going to be somebody that he has been connected to for a while. I'm not sure if it's going to be from either the Dodgers organization from years ago or the Padres or the Mets. But again, Paul DePodesta knows how to build a team. I'm super excited to see what he's going to do with that. Moving on to some more Rockies news. Congratulations to Hunter Goodman, who, by the way, it had to happen right after our show last week. Hunter Goodman was announced basically right when we had stopped recording. Hunter Goodman was announced as the Silver Slugger for catchers. And there's a lot of Dodger fans out there saying, oh, Will Smith should have won it. And I'm like, dude, yeah, right. But anyways, we'll take it. We're super happy for Hunter. But Tom, you got to agree. Like Hunter Goodman was the best catcher in the National League this year by a pretty good margin when it comes to just at the position and also offensively and being an all-star for that matter.
Oh, sorry. No, yeah, I just had to take the mic off mute. Well, I mean, Dodgers fans can drink the Kool-Aid from the fact they won the World Series, and the World Series was capped off by their catcher hitting the go-ahead home run to seal what would the run that did seal the deal. But again, at the end of the day, Hunter Goodman, it is one thing for us to be shy about. He earned it. Just real quick, adjusting my stuff right now just to kind of take a look at that. But at the end of the day, granted, neither catcher was great as Cal Raleigh, but Hunter Goodman, in all of baseball during the regular season, he was third among catchers in OPS overall behind Shea Langoliers and Cal Raleigh. So to say he didn't earn it or he didn't deserve it, depending what term you want to use, I say earn. It's a well-earned honor. And I think also something that we might have alluded to on the last episode, we were talking about hopefully that Drew Romo could take the next step, and not saying he still can be a major league catcher, but the fact that, because I think Steven, you and I talked about, we were thinking that Hunter Goodman was going to be a 4A player for us. You're going back and forth between Albuquerque and Denver.
Wait, was that wrong?
And just being, I think I put him as a emergency fifth outfielder and DH option, I think, is where I had him on the bench. I didn't have him even in the conversation to be one of the two catchers on the roster, but it ended up being him and Jacob Stallings, who ended up getting DFA'd, and then Hunter Goodman took the bull by the horn, seized the opportunity, carpe the diem, and just moved on, and here we are. So again, but it gives, as a lot of people allude to, it does give us hope that we do have a solid hitting piece and also a solid catcher, in my opinion, that is the most important defensive position in baseball to build around. So again, Hunter Goodman, fantastic job. Pleasantly good surprise of a season, and it's good for us to go forward. And I hope Paul DePodesta, keep him on the roster so you can build around him, and then just let's fortify the offense. But again, we'll talk about potential free agent options. I did think the one that you posted today, Stephen, was a good option that we can look into, but we'll have to wait and see. But Hunter Goodman, great season, well-earned honor, and we'll see where it goes from here. I would like to see other people on the roster win the same honor as well for the first or second time.
Yeah. Adam, do you think DePodesta is going to trade Hunter Goodman, Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle, and all these, fun Rockies players for a bag of chips? Because that's what a lot of Rockies fans think that's going to happen, or because the Monforts are still in charge. Like, dude, they clearly did not watch the interview, and they clearly have not watched Rockies baseball.
Well, we've talked about this multiple times now. There are common misnomers out there about the Rockies that they trade all their stars, which we can completely debunk in a matter of 5 minutes. So a lot of casual people who don't actually follow the club, they fall into this lazy narrative that the Rockies don't spend money, which is not true, or that the Rockies trade all of their best players, which is also not true. Have they fumbled the bag on a few players and let them go into free agency without trying to get assets for them? Yes, they have done that. But have they also locked up players to contract extensions? They've done that, right? So I'm not excusing the Rockies for any sort of previous front office behavior, but before we say stuff, we've got to know what we're talking about. And it really is just a little irritating when people say things like this. And I talk about this on the Broncos podcast, but I need to stay out of the comments because every time I see somebody say, "Oh, the Rockies trade all their best players," I have to reply, and it's like an impulse, and it's just like, stop, just know what you're talking about before you say something.
Yeah, do your research.
Yes, do your research.
Yeah, do your research. Show me evidence of that, multiple cases of that evidence, and then we'll talk.
Because the thing about Story and LeMahieu and Arenado, which are the players that people always talk about getting traded or whatever, letting go to free agency, they were all here for at least 6 years. That's a long time. Okay, so we did not trade them during arbitration 1. And half the people that are trying to talk about this stuff all the time, they don't even know what arbitration 1 is in the first place. So please, I'm asking you, Rockies fans, we've got to become more intelligent as a fan base. But anyway, Hunter Goodman, if the Rockies end up trading him or Doyle or anybody else, I have to believe that they think that it's in the best interest of the future of this franchise to do such things. We have to consider the fact that free agent pitchers are not just going to come here on their own. So we may have to trade some valuable assets to get pitching here. I know people are going to freak out. We always trade our best players. Here it comes again, right? But in this case, you have a man taking over this franchise who has to make the right moves to get the pitching staff in order. So we'll see what he does. I probably won't be upset if he does anything really, except for trade Condon and Holiday or Condon or Holiday. That would be upsetting.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting like Shohei Ohtani in return, like that would be cool.
Yeah.
But I think that Hunter Goodman is an outstanding player, and just like Tom was talking about, I had him as like a 5th outfielder, like bench guy, first base every now and then. And he had an outstanding season. Can you build around him? Yes. Can you trade him? Yes. Because is his value going to be higher than it is now? Probably not, but we'll see, right? So I would say that the Rockies are going to be a very interesting team to watch this offseason.
If you don't mind me saying, he is not going to get traded, Hunter Goodman, because he's not even in arbitration yet, and those players do not get traded. So not to throw, I'm not trying to throw anything at anybody's plans here, but when you have a player that's not even in his arbitration years, you don't trade that player. Now,
precisely what I just said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just reaffirming your comment just for the voters, because another thing about Brett Doyle, he is about to enter arbitration. So if you want me to go back and forth, who's more likely? It's more likely Doyle. Not saying he will. He's the more likely one to get traded.
Yeah, I don't think.
For all the people who are saying trade him while his value is high, it's not happening.
I don't think that he's actually going to trade any of these people, but would I be surprised that he did it? Not really.
Yeah.
Because you're taking over a team with one of the worst records in the history of the game. You have to make drastic changes.
Why trade arguably the best defensive center fielder in the game next to PCA?
Julio
and Julio as well.
Luis Robert
as well. But you need a guy like Brent Doyle to patrol the outfield in Coors Field. You had Dexter Fowler, who was on a podcast this past year saying Brent Doyle's the best defensive center fielder the Rockies have ever had. That says a lot, especially coming from a great Rockies player like Dexter Fowler was in his time here.
Maybe one of the best catches in franchise history.
2010 in Atlanta, and the Ubaldo Jimenez, that was crazy. Sixth inning. There you go.
I would like to address this question when you get a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I don't think that the Rockies are, quote, finished with anybody, because now we have an opportunity to drive a new philosophy home and see if we can't get something out of these players that we thought we were going to get before. Now, if DePodesta comes in here and he deems that these players don't have value, that's a different story. But I would say, Tom and Steven, let me know if you agree, the Rockies shouldn't be done with anybody, because now they have a chance to see if they can actually develop these players, whereas in the past, I don't think Zach Veen was put in a position to succeed here under the last regime. Could he be under the new regime? I think we owe it to ourselves to figure those things out.
I will say, for those 3 players listed on their own, they don't have any drastic trade value. And I don't see any reason why, because I would look at it as right now they're unfortunately in a position of between a rock and a hard place, because you have players that can give you significant value in terms of offensive and defensive production, but at the same time, you don't want to part with those players because they're so young into their careers, A, and B, to Adam's point, you want to develop this team under the new protocols of this and procedures of this team. Paul DePodesta is going to make some changes, whether it's staffing changes or procedural changes or how things go about, because this is his this is his thing to grow. This thing, he's going to run it how he sees fit. This is going to be way different. So all the players that had issues under the previous regime, or two regimes, will even throw it as far as there, because some of them go back to the Jeff Bridich days. Give him a chance under this new way of how business is going to go about. So no, yeah. I don't expect many trades to be made. I only expect the Rockies to really be active on the free agent market, and it's not going to be anymore. And just to kind of throw, we're not getting Pete Alonso, we're not getting so and so. I mean, Josh Bell, I'll say it. Josh Bell is not a bad addition because we have a pull at first base. We need a veteran hitter, and he's a switch hitter, so why not? And he does have power, and he does. I don't have his numbers, of course, in front of me, but I can't imagine them being bad. Yeah,
Chris mentioned on our Josh Bell post that Rhys Hoskins is a free agent as well. That would be a good that's a good signing, I think.
I just remembered he is, correct.
Yeah. I will say this because talking about analytics and just like DePodesta bringing in new stuff, this past year, Walker Monfort, I believe, was the one that introduced the Rockies, and I think they were the last team to do it. Bring in, I think it's called Traject Arc, a hitting practice machine that gives hitters a video image and a ball flight that aligns with the pitcher that's pitching for that game. The Rockies were the very last team to implement that, which tells me that Walker Monfort's like, hey, Dad, we need to catch up. We're way behind. So that is super promising. Like Walker Monfort is doing what his dad should have done years or decades ago. And really, honestly, it's not really his dad. His dad should have been outside of the decision-making and everything. But it just now this franchise can really trust, again, Paul DePodesta and the front office and a new GM to really take care of the baseball decisions. And it just, again, it's a breath of fresh air. And I saw a lot of people, positive people, which was great to see. And I think Luke can agree with us in the comments, is that today feels like a breath of fresh air. And it's like, it's weird because we're not used to it, because Dick Monfort has been overseeing this franchise for a lot of years. He's had a lot of the final say in pretty much almost every big decision, where now Paul DePodesta is pretty much, and along with Walker Monfort, are going to be working together. Now, again, Walker mentioned that, he's going to answer to his dad, but really DePodesta is going to answer to Walker, but Walker and DePodesta are going to be working together. And I feel like, again, we saw this in the press conference. Maybe there was only 2 or 3 questions of Dick Monfort. Everybody else was either Walker or Paul. Again, Dick probably wasn't too pleased about that. But I also want to get to this first comment by Luke here. You think Goodman will catch at least one MVP vote? Imagine this offense without his production. I mean, I don't think I'm curious to see if he did get one vote.
He did not. No, okay. I checked. Okay. He did not.
Okay. It would have been cool, though, just to get one vote. Wasn't Nolan Jones, remember when he was in the running for Rookie of the Year? Didn't he get an MVP vote, like 1 or 2?
I don't recall.
If we got 1 or 2 first place votes for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, which he should. Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking about. But it's ridiculous. We've talked about it before in that last podcast, whenever that was. But he should have gotten third over Outman. But that's just me drinking the purple Kool-Aid here. And then Luke says, I think DePodesta's first goal has to be checking the value of guys we're probably finished with. Or, again, we already answered that a little bit here. And then Luke also says the way Walker spoke today and how prepared with a plan he was super refreshing. I could not agree more. That was awesome. He seemed more relaxed. Same thing with Paul. I mean, compared to Bridich or Schmidt, like when we first started, the show, it's just night and day difference. It's fishiness. I love that. I love the name there. I want my Luis to rise 1 year, 13 million signing now. Just kidding. I'm willing to be patient, but I'd love to see it. I mean, somebody put out today, Luis Ariz to the Rockies. That would be instant batting title champion right there. Imagine just that happen. He would probably be a 400 hitter in Coors Field. I don't really see that happening. I feel like the Rockies infield is probably looking for more of a bridge. Luis Ariz is going to be more. I think he's going to get a little bit more money than that, in my personal opinion, and more years. I think he's probably going to get like a 2 or 3 year deal.
He'll probably get a 2 year deal. I'm thinking 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if we were near like winning games, it would be a good signing, but it's not a fit here. this Luis Ariz situation.
Luke says Bard got one MVP a few years ago. Was that in 2022?
2020, 22, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was. I think that was his. Well, he wasn't. Yeah, he should have been.
Or was it
All-Star.
2020?
Well, I think 2020 he won National Comeback Player of the Year. I know that.
I think that would have been the same year. That would make sense.
Yeah, it was either 2020 or 2022. Luke, if you have the info on that, let us know in the comments. It was either 2020 or 2022. I think.
It was 20. It was 22.
Okay. Yeah.
Was it 22? Okay.
That was a crazy year. I mean, he was. Didn't he lead the National League in saves that year?
No, he did not. He got 3. He had 34 that did not lead the league.
Okay, 34. Who led the league? I'm curious. Who led the league?
Let me see if I can. Find that. No,
I forgot Bard was that guy a couple years ago. Yeah.
He got 2 vote points in. He did not get a first place vote, but he got 2 vote points.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And Nolan Jones did not get any in 2023.
Okay, but he got, like, again, as Adam mentioned, I think at 1 or 2 first place votes for Rookie of the Year. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here with some of these Rockies players. What DePodesta will do to that, I truly believe, and I think for those who are wondering about Chris Bryant, I think he mentioned it a few days ago that he has not yet talked to Chris. But I think there was somebody said that he is going to see what happens. Give Chris one more chance. Like, we're going to see what happens with Chris. We'll see what happens. Again, maybe he sees something that we don't, and it's just like, hey, he can still contribute or still be, I don't know, like a David Justice. I don't know.
It's a very, very expensive bench
contract
because he should not be in the starting lineup. Like, there's no reason to put him in the starting lineup.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of us are most intrigued and most curious about. Will Paul DePodesta be voice addressing fans, or is he going to stay in the background and let this new GM take? Well, because that's a good question, Wild. Because I know when he was with the Browns, he lived in California, did a lot of his work from California. He was not there personally at, in Cleveland, which is interesting. I think he's going to be there. I don't think he's going to.
No, he's moving to Denver. He's the general manager, president of baseball ops, is the front facer for the organization.
Yeah. I mean, again, his role in Cleveland wasn't. I mean, it was a front office thing, but it wasn't like you have to be at the games, you have to be at the stage. It's just like he was a strategy guy. That was basically it. He
was in a supporting role.
Yeah. Yes, and then Fishy says something on the Phillies Alvarado, something saves. Okay, yeah.
In 2022, Bard finished 6th in saves. Class A led the MLB.
Class A. Ooh.
It went Class
Too
A.
soon.
Too soon, man.
Well, I mean, it's. I'm just reading what it says on baseball. It was Class A: Jensen, Hendricks, Romano, Hader, Bard.
Man, yeah. Again, too soon. What news, man?
No, it's not too soon. No, it's not a bad mark on us. It's just a bad mark on. It's just two guys who are. It's just 2 guys who are idiots.
Idiots. Yeah.
I was being facetious the whole time. So.
Yeah. Well.
But
yeah.
I mean, that's. Yeah. But no, he did. But he did get 2 vote points in 2022.
I feel like PDEP sounds like a vaccine that I don't want to get or something. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be calling him PDEP.
Yes, and then Lux, he did say that. He said he's not as bad as everyone.
I actually agree with this. I think that he has good intentions, but he doesn't know what he's doing. And
he says, I think he generally wants to win. He just doesn't know how to.
He refused to come to terms with that and thought that his way would work, and it hasn't. And I think now, I didn't think he came off as childish at all on the press conference. I feel like he was just saying, my time is up now. I think he knows this now. I'm sure he's a nice guy, besides some things that he does in his personal life that we don't need to talk about. But I don't know. I don't think he's as bad either. We just wanted him the whole time to just let go of baseball operations and just be what he called himself, right? During the press conference, the overhead. Just be the money. Let Paul use the money. You be the money, and let's build a baseball team here. And I think it sounds like he's going to do that for us now.
Yeah. Yeah. While, he goes right to your point, Adam. Money has been spent just poorly.
Yeah. Ian Desmond.
Playing first base. what a horrible decision that was.
On so many different reasons, because you
Yeah.
also lost a first-round draft pick.
Don't tell me about that. Yeah. You guys, yeah. So Luke says, guys have any insights into guys that worked with DePodesta and MLB before, still in the league anywhere? Not that I know of. I'm not sure if Adam or you, Tom, have any insights on that. I do know the only connection I think we have is Thad Levine, because somebody said that Thad Levine and him were childhood friends. And they went to, was it the same school together, or they went to the same high school, something like that. So there is familiarity there. And I'm not sure if I know we talked about Levine a few weeks before when he was in the conversations, but he wasn't like a finalist or anything. And I think we were like, we're okay. I think we came to the consensus of we would be okay if Levine was the GM, not president of baseball operations. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens with Levine. He's just been a name floating around. I think he would definitely be a good candidate, or I should say a top candidate for the Rockies. I'm not sure if it would be good. I still need to do a little bit more research and just like, I mean, he did have success in Minnesota for those 8 years were playoff years. They just didn't get anywhere. But he was successful, and I wouldn't hate it. But again, I'm not sure really a lot of if obviously whenever he was in these organizations with the Padres, with the Dodgers, or with the Mets, he was the highest one was the Dodgers. He was a Dodgers GM in 2003, 2004. More than likely, a lot of those guys are probably retired. The only likely one would be the Mets. That was the more recent one. He left the Mets in, I think, 2015, guys, right? 2015.
They went to the World Series in 2015. Right?
I think that was the last year, and then
the next year
he went to the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, that's right. So he was on the Mets World Series team in 2015. So he could go back there. But part of me feels like he's going to do something that like work with somebody he's never done before. Maybe he's talked to, but just. I don't know. And then somebody said, maybe he's going to bring in somebody from the Browns organization. That's not.
I don't think that Warren Schaefer is out of the running here by any means because he talked about in his press conference today a relationship builder, and Warren Schaefer is definitely that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Warren Schaefer just keeps his job.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Yeah. Here's my opinion before I hand it off to Tom for his opinion. I think Warren Schaefer. Well, here's the thing. If you're if this is going to take a few years at least, you can't go to a manager that you're like, okay, we're going to win a World Series in the next, I don't know how many years. You want a bridge guy. You want a bridge manager, kind of like Walt Weiss was. I think Warren Schaefer fits that role perfectly, and given the words that DePodesta said in the MLB Network interview, and then today, I think Warren Schaefer fits everything, what they're looking for. He's a player's manager. The Rockies, I know they didn't get any better necessarily in the second half, but a lot of those games they stayed in there. Of course, talk about the comeback win against Pittsburgh. Warren Schaefer fits that role perfectly, I think. I wouldn't be upset if they went out and got David Ross, who was a great manager for the Cubs, in my personal opinion. I thought he did a great job, and it was kind of, I'm not saying it was disrespectful, but it's just like the way he was treated in Chicago wasn't that great. And then I think there was a couple names out there. I know DNVR, they said something along, or they had a couple ideas. One of them was Bob Melvin, a huge no for me. And then I think Joe Girardi, again, a huge no, absolutely not. Philadelphia hated that guy. I know he was a former Rocky. I know, no disrespect to Joe. I know he's an awesome person, but it's just like the Rockies, they need a guy that's younger. Warren Schaefer's, I think, in his 40s. I think he fits that role perfectly, as you said, Adam. And so I don't know, Tom, what do you think?
For Schaefer, I think it's 20% chance he comes back, 80% chance they move on and move to someone else, because I see it as if you want to start anew and kind of move in a brand new direction that could take this franchise forward. Not dogging the job Warren Schaefer did last year. He really had little to nothing to work with, but I think it's a more like a scenario that they move on to a whole new leader in that clubhouse. And
I don't disagree, but we can't throw it out the window, right? That he would not be back.
No, that's why I said there's still 20. There's still 20. I still believe there's a 20% chance he comes back.
Yeah. I think somebody might have mentioned in the comments. I think Dick Monfort said to somebody today that there was 20 to 30 candidates for the president of baseball operations job, which is still good. And they reached out to the Rockies. I was kind of expecting more, but getting this question here from Wi-Fi Errorboy3896. He says, goofy question, but do you think there's a possibility for Nolan Arenado? No. That ship has sailed.
Big NO.
Yeah. Plus, it would be cool if he came back, but at the same time, though, like, what good would that do?
Highly unlikely, but the chance is higher now than it was before, but still, absolutely not.
Performance-wise, Nolan is definitely not what he used to be. He would be a decent bat, but that's his.
Well, I just meant because Breidich ain't here and Schmidt ain't here.
Hey, I'll come back to Colorado.
But he's not going to win here, and he's not the player that he used to be, it doesn't make sense.
I say 0% chance he comes back, 100% chance he does not come back, mostly not just because of decline of production, but also the money he's going to be owed.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense with the Chris Bryant contract, especially. If the Rockies, again, just like the Arise move, if they were close to winning a championship and they needed like a veteran piece or something like that, maybe, but they're not.
Yeah.
How about guys talking about the manager's position? Danny Lehman or Mark Pryor from the Dodgers by any chance? What do you guys think there? I mean, you're on the Dodgers, you're winning championships, but to be the main guy, I think that would be a nice move by the Rockies to steal from the Dodgers. But
Tom, what do you think?
I would say Mark Pryor, no, because I think he's comfortable in his role as a pitching coach. I don't even know if he. Knowing what I know about him, and it's, again, Chicago guy, he playing for the Cubs, I don't even know if he has aspirations to be a manager. I think Danny Lehman, is a more likely candidate as far as it goes in terms of the structure of a coaching staff. Not a bad option, because if you want to pillage teams, why not pillage the Dodgers and take some of
the Dodgers?
The Marlins this past year, I feel like the Marlins are trading in the right direction. They got Clayton McAuliffe to be their manager. He was their first base coach. And look at the Marlins. Yeah, and look at the Marlins. You know, here we thought in our preseason standing predictions, we had the Marlins being I think worse than the Rockies, and the Marlins guys, they were close to 500 by the end of the year. And so I don't know things. I think Miami's going to spend a little bit this offseason, in my opinion. I think Peter is it Bendix, right, in Miami.
Well, they just hired Gabe Kapler as the GM.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
A people person, indeed.
Yeah.
Their personalities are very different. Peter Bendix is a Harvard type A personality or Ivy League type A personality. I'm not sure if he went to Harvard. Yeah. And then Gabe Kapler is look at Gabe Kapler. He's your kind of direct dude kind of thing. So that'll be interesting to see. But as far as spending goes, I don't know, because that's a whole ownership situation. That ownership situation is not the best in baseball.
They're not spending money. I'd put money on that myself.
Not to mention how much debt I've heard that they have on the franchise.
Yeah. So while he says, speaking of disrespected, Joe Madden is dropping bombs on San Francisco. Yeah, I saw that this morning. Vitello. It's just Joe Madden. I wouldn't like. I think I've mentioned his name a few times on the pod before about maybe being an option. But I think his days are done. I think I like him. I know he's been on MLB Network or MLB Tonight. I'm fine with that. I just feel like his best days are done. I mean, he was awesome in Tampa Bay and he was great in Chicago. But the Rockies, they need a younger manager. They need a guy that's young. And one nice thing about DePodesta is only in his 50s, I think. Where you talk about Bill Schmidt. Bill Schmidt was, no offense to Bill, but Bill Schmidt is like at the close to the retirement age.
He's right at that retirement age.
Yeah, and he probably is going to retire. I know there were some comments, there were some predictions saying, I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Schmidt comes back to the Rockies in some sort of way. No, he was fired. Given the fact they said he stepped down. No, he was fired.
When you part ways with someone, you don't bring them back in a lesser role.
Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think about the whole situation, Tom, about Joe Madden and the whole Tony Vitello situation in San Francisco? Because I think we have some people that are wondering about that.
Well, I guess I can understand Joe's skepticism, or not skepticism. I can understand Joe's ire toward the situation. I think maybe he being the old school manager he just doesn't. I don't think he likes it when a college manager, even from a program as highly touted as Tennessee, just comes directly into a manager chair where he didn't, quote unquote, air quotes, earn his stripes in a supporting coaching position, which is what a lot of guys do. But I mean, barriers are broken. molds are broken. There are quote unquote trailblazers. So I don't know. It's a risky move, and it's coming from a guy who is just more recently from a guy who's leading that baseball operations department, who was just a few years removed from retirement and is waiting for his Hall of Fame call. He's trying to be unique. Will it pay off? Who knows? It's definitely a huge gamble, I would say. But for Joe Madden, I can understand why he's going to obviously be the grumpy old man in the situation, throw stones at it. But I mean, he has a reason to gripe about it.
Joe Madden is the same school as Bud Black. You're not wrong there. And
Well,
actually,
Joe-
I think both of them are good friends, apparently. I think.
Well, the one thing is Joe Madden does have a World Series ring as a manager.
Bud Black does not.
Oh, you should.
Well, actually, no, he actually does. He was, I just remember, he was a part of this Angel staff in 2002.
Well, no, but not as I mean. I
Not
said
as
as
manager.
a
Not as
I said as a
manager.
man.
Yeah, he was
But
on
no,
yeah.
it is funny watching old clips and seeing him how young he was. Like
Before he had gray hair. Yeah.
Well, no, just before when he was just a young buck pitching coach.
Or when the Padres, when he was the Padres manager in 2007.
It's so weird looking back at him at those.
You know what,
old
guys? I
days.
just thought this is not going to happen, but DePodesta's manager was Bud Black in San Diego.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And they were also working.
Are
with,
you trying to give me PTSD?
No. Oh, I don't think the Rockies are going to do that. I really don't think that's going to happen. I think Monfort would, maybe. I don't know.
Well, just to take the easy way out, he would.
Yeah. Luke says, I think Warren was helping to push for this kind of change. Remember his quote about matters what decisions we make now. Yeah, good point, Luke.
But a decision like this starts with ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he has I think he has a little bit higher chance than 20% to come back. And I don't think that he's necessarily tied to the failure of last year's team, because he just took them over and they played better under him. Not necessarily in the wins, well, definitely in the wins-loss column, because he won more games than Bud Black did. But if what DePodesta deems as important as he says, which is being a relationship person and a relationship builder, I mean, Warren Schaefer is really, really good at that. He excels at that. Now, would I be upset that they don't bring him back? No, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him back either.
Yeah, I mean, they might fully embrace change from top to bottom. Now, of course, we're gonna get a new pitching coach too. That's right. I just remember that Joe Scott's out, so completely different staff. I think it's going to be a completely different staff. I mean, I think in my personal opinion, I think it's going to be 60 to 40%. I think Warren Schaefer comes back or does not come back. I just think that if you're going to go get a brand new pitching coach, why not get a brand new manager? I don't know. It's hard to say at this point. In my personal opinion, obviously they're going to get a general manager first before manager, because obviously that's the way it works and it should work. But yeah, I think the reason why Warren Schaefer would definitely fit here would be just because of the younger players. He's a younger manager. He's I think he fits that quality. But again, I just think he's, like I said at the start, he's a great bridge manager. He doesn't need to be. He's not going to be your manager when the Rockies, fingers crossed, again drinking the purple Kool-Aid here, win the World Series one day. Warren Schaefer is not that type of manager, in my personal opinion. But I think he's a great bridge manager. And I think that's who he is. And then who's going to be the next manager? I don't know. So
I guess I should answer this question.
Go back. Yeah.
So that was such a bad take. But I would say that it's too early to decide that. And I wouldn't throw the Rockies out of playoff contention anyway. We've seen teams turn stuff around before, and in other sports and in baseball. You look at the Patriots this year. It's like, I mean, they have Drake May and he's a franchise player, but who's to say that the Rockies don't have that difference maker in their franchise now? And they're just waiting to be wow.
Oh man, love you, Wild.
I don't think we've seen before. Nobody in their right mind, except for me, was picking the Toronto Blue Jays to win the World Series or go to the World Series last year, right? So you never know, dude. You never know. The Rockies could turn it around in 1 year. We don't know if that they won't. What if this pitching philosophy has a great effect on Dollander and on Hughes and on Brecht and all these other guys, and they just come out and ball next year? We don't know.
Yeah. Brett Strom is still available. You remember he was the pitching coach for the Diamondbacks and the Astros? He's still out there. As far as I know, I don't think he has a job. He would be definitely a good pitching coach or pitching coordinator. And I think he was the guy. I think we might have mentioned this last week, Tom, is that he was one of the guys that spoke out against the Rockies at one point and said, yeah, like they need analytics. And what better job is to work under Paul DePodesta and the Rockies organization and help the pitching staff here. And I think was it MLB Trade Rumors or Patrick Saunders posted out an article talking about how DePodesta, the way he's going to help the pitching is by making trades. And so we'll see. There's definitely going to be a philosophy here. And the nice thing is that, again, there is a plan there. DePodesta has said it, but he, obviously he's not going to say it on live TV in front of like thousands of millions of people and in front of all 30 teams, or 29 other teams. But he does have a plan. He does have a philosophy, and that's one thing that's exciting. Where for the Rockies, Bill Schmidt, there was no plan. There were just a lot of hopings, a lot of what ifs. And the Rockies were living in a world of what ifs. And it's time to get out of that. Again, it's a new era of Rockies baseball, and I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. And yeah, but it's as Lux says here, it will take more than 1 year to fix. And there's going to be a lot of people, and I'm expecting guys, and we'll talk about this as we get closer to next year and when we start doing spring training. It's going to probably be another 100 loss year for the Rockies, unless if there is just a massive upgrade to the team, or either a lot of players just have these great years. It's going to be another tough year in Colorado. Let's be honest.
I can tell you right now, I do not agree with you on that.
Oh,
they're not losing 100 games again.
Okay. I think, however, I will say this. We'll talk about it once we get closer. I still think they're probably going to be around 100 losses, if not a little bit more than that. But I do think that we will see improvement in terms of either the pitching, the hitting, both. But again, it's the division. But I will say there are stuff going on in San Diego, talking about selling the team. A lot of division within the clubhouse over there with Tatis. They're going to trade him because he's a problem over there in San Diego. No big surprise.
We'll take that.
It's the Padres, dude. Like, I
would take him in a heartbeat, wouldn't you?
100%. But again, we already have Tovar. We have Tovar though,
for the amount of money that he's owed.
He's still young.
But he signed into his late.
I don't know if I would want him as a clubhouse guy though. Like in my clubhouse, no, I wouldn't want him.
He signed into his late 30s, so he's not going to be able to produce at this level forever.
One thing I definitely do not want is Xander Bogaerts and his 11-year contract.
That was a panic sign.
Yeah.
Because
look how that's panned out for them.
That ground ball rate is really bad. Really bad.
They signed him to a 10-year deal at 31, and they just panicked after they couldn't sign Aaron Judge. Yeah, Lux.
Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. I do want to get some of these comments here from Lux before we get to the awards here. Yeah, when Bill Schmidt made those comments about we have the full support of Bud Black, literally like a few days before they fire him, that was hilarious. And it's just like that's when I lost total respect for Bill Schmidt. Anyone can make a better team than Bill Schmidt. 2026 injury bug flooding through the National League West, and the Rockies had the vaccine.
Let's go.
I love it. I love it. Didn't the Rockies say that they have plans this offseason? Adam talked about at the start of it, or either in our pre-game meeting.
He said we have been trying to sign free agents. He said it,
and they're already doing this. And he's barely a week into being named, and today, where it's really the first official day, he's already been talking to people. The Rockies, Bill Schmidt never really talked to anybody until like January, end of December. I'm like, what's going on here? So,
because free agency's open. He's doing what he's doing what would behoove him in the long run. You reach out early. You don't do it the day before. Signings can take as much as a few months to compile. You don't just reach out a day so and 2
Yeah.
days out of the assignment. It takes your negotiations.
Or spring
Yeah,
training.
we want guys who aren't backed into a corner and just sign here because we offered the most money, Chris Bryant.
Yeah. Let's just jump right into the awards here. Again, we'll keep those comments coming. We love you guys, and we have actually a bunch of on Instagram, which be kind of cool to get to. But time restraining, we'll probably not get to those. But again, thank you all for your comments. Talk about the awards. Okay, no big surprise. Shohei Ohtani wins MVP. I mean, whatever. Like I'm shocked, right? I mean, who saw that coming? Not me.
Judge.
The one I am a little bit upset about is Aaron Judge. And again, I'm going to hand it off to Adam here because he wanted his take on this. And obviously, Adam, the floor is yours. I don't know what to say.
Well, number one, I don't disrespect, I don't dislike, I don't hate Aaron Judge. I think he's a fantastic baseball player. I think he plays the game the right way. He doesn't show anybody up. He's a fantastic leader. All of those things. I think he's a great baseball player that's not to be debated at all. My problem is not with Aaron Judge. My problem is with the process of the way that these things take place. Why, in 2025, are we still letting MLB writers, who don't even write anymore, by the way, why are they voting for these awards? Why are they voting for Hall of Fame careers? Why are they voting for MVP, for Cy Young? There has to be a better way to go about doing this. This is so antiquated, the way that we go about voting for awards, and I think it's a joke, quite honestly. And I know it's not exclusive to baseball, but we need to look at changes in that area because these writers don't watch baseball outside of the Eastern time zone, if we're being honest, right? They know about Cal Raleigh, but they're not staying up to watch these games. They're not going out to Seattle to watch the Mariners play. They're not going to see Cal Raleigh in person. That's just not happening, okay? And that's probably hyperbole, but you guys get what I'm saying. So my issue is with the way that we do these things. And on top of that, can we stop voting for the player that has the best stats as the most valuable player and look at who the actual most valuable player is to their team amongst the field? Because if that's the case, and I know Sporting News has an award for this, but we need a best player award or a player of the year award, and we need an MVP award because those two things are getting conflated and people get lazy and they just look at these stats and they're like, okay, well, this guy's the MVP. What makes him the MVP? Because he had the most, the highest OPS? Because he plays in a hitter-friendly stadium? Give me a break, dude. There has to be a better process in the future for how to vote for MVP, Cy Young, Hall of Fame, and the writers should have absolutely nothing to do with it. And you guys could tell me if you disagree, especially I'd love to hear Tom's take on this, but I don't think writers should be involved in that process. It should be maybe owners, GMs, players, like retired players. I don't know what it looks like, but I feel like there's better qualified people to make these decisions. And not only do these decisions affect their current careers, right? If I get robbed of an MVP, I can't put that on my resume when I hit free agency, but then you're putting it on their resume for the rest of their career when it comes to the Hall of Fame. And you can't say that I was a 3-time MVP because I got robbed of 2 of them. You know what I mean? So I feel like the writers just don't ever get this right, and they shouldn't be involved.
Yeah, I don't know. Tom, what do you think?
I mean, how do I say this? It's a gray area because Adam does have the point where you have two sides how you look at every coin, one of which is who is the best performing player, and 2, who serve value on the team. Now, the good news in this argument between Judge and Raleigh is both were a critical part of their team's success this season. And of course, one team was much more successful than the other. So we're not talking about a playoff team versus a non-playoff team. So that's the good part with this argument. That's one critical thing we don't have to worry about. One thing I'll add, it's just the thing is how this season specific, I think, is unique because not only was Judge, winning his 3rd in the last 4 years, but also in Cal's point, this was such a historic season by a player from a specific position. How often do you see a catcher put up a season like this? And not only put up a season like this, but catchers don't typically play a lot of games. They don't play all 162. Cal, whether it was catching or DH, he played 159 games, and he did break he hit the most home runs, and he drove in the most runs. Judge beat him in all the other categories, granted. But it's just that the fact is that it just sucks we can't give the acknowledgement of the most valuable player, considering it was a catcher. How often do you see a season as historic as this one is from a position that is critical to a team's success, but often can't play as much because of the physical demands that is required of this guy when he's on defense? I'm going to catch some flack for that. I know somebody's going to, comment me saying, "Oh, Tom." It's a good argument to have. I personally would have given it to Cal because of the reasons I just stated. You're never going to probably see, I mean, we didn't even see a season like this from Piazza or, again, a Yankee guy, Posada. He didn't even come close to a season like this. I'm not dogging Jorge Posada's career, but it's just the point is, I think Cal, I would have given it to Cal solely on the purposes that it was just such an amazing season from the fact that it wasn't your typical, not to say Cal's not one of the best players in baseball. He's one of the best catchers in baseball, but just again, to summarize, I would have given it to Cal solely on the purpose that not only did he have a historic level season, but also he did it from his respective position and to a team. I'll throw this in there, a team that has not had success over the last 2 decades. I mean, how many, again, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, this is only the second time that they made the playoffs in the last 25, 30 years.
Correct.
25 years.
25 years.
Because it was prior to last year, it was 2001, right? Am I correct? Okay. So again, that's my whole thing. But to your point, Adam, you are correct. There is Yankee bias in this whole thing, considering a lot of the writers are New York writers too.
Right. So what is your opinion on writers being the deciders of all this stuff?
I don't think it should be, the writers should be the only decision non grata. They shouldn't be the ultimate decision makers. No, I think there is some flaws in the process as far as who gets to vote, and maybe also with vote eligibility. I'll look at it this way. I'll shift over to the college football playoff selection committee. It's not made up of all writers. It's made up of a diverse group. There's even one person who's not involved in sports. That's Condoleezza Rice. So again,
and she's the Broncos.
She's a part owner of the Broncos.
Well, correct, but she's not involved in college football. But the point is,
no.
But to the point I'm trying to make it, if you're going to have a group that votes on this, there should be not only a set of qualifications, but B, it should be a group of people maybe from multiple spots around multiple segments of sports. And it shouldn't be just all writers, I think. But then again, it's tough to break that up because it's been like this for how long?
Well, and I feel like, I'm not saying Aaron Judge doesn't deserve the award. I have no argument. I think he's a great player. He's one of my favorite players to watch. You guys see me post his highlights all year, and you're like, is this guy a Yankee fan? No, I just love Aaron Judge. But the fact remains this year that he was hurt quite a bit, right?
2 weeks.
And that's a lot considering that Cal Raleigh played 158 games, right? 159 games, sorry. So when you talk about value, how are we measuring value from a guy that manages a pitching staff, plays almost every single day, carries his team to the playoffs, and almost carries them to the World Series? And I know the playoffs don't come into play here, but if that's not value, I don't know what is, because if you look at the Yankees, they're probably still going to make the playoffs without Aaron Judge. The Mariners do not stand a chance without Cal Raleigh. And maybe, Tom, the Yankees don't make the playoffs without Aaron Judge, right? Maybe they fall a little bit short, but they would fall a little bit shorter than the Mariners would without Cal Raleigh, because the Raleigh was dealing with a lineup around him that was hot and cold and had like a 30% strikeout rate around him. So
plus to your point about him managing the pitching staff, one of the best pitching staffs in baseball.
Yep.
That takes that. Plus, also you forget catchers are involved in hitters meetings, strategy meetings, pitching meetings, scouting meetings. They're involved in every single. Again, that's probably, to the novice baseball fan, this probably is just over your head. But there's a lot that goes into just sitting behind the plate and catching the baseball and then going up to hit.
Yep, and he was on the field more than Aaron Judge, so I don't know how he was less valuable than Aaron Judge. That's crazy.
Yeah, This is from OptaStats on X. Since
Sorry. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. Cal Raleigh versus Aaron Judge in a home run derby. Winner gets the award. I'm just kidding.
That's actually a good idea.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be fun. Like again, remember the All-Star game this past year? I actually enjoyed that. That was fun.
They should do that in extra innings in the regular season. I think people would love it. Just like the shootout in the NHL.
People loved it in the All-Star game. I mean, it was exciting, but then the Dave Roberts where he goes to Stowers, I'm like, well, you could have chosen anybody else except it's just okay, but still, Kyle Schwarber won it, so that was cool. But
I don't think we're allowed to question Dave Roberts after Game 7 anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
And of course, the hero is the beer league softball player.
What were you going to say from Twitter?
So this is an interesting stat. So since the BBWAA, which is the Baseball Writers Association, whatever, began awarding the MVP in 1931, Cal Raleigh is the only MLB player to hit 60 home runs for a playoff team and not win MVP.
Wow.
Interesting stat there.
Wow.
But again, you look at the stats, it speaks for Judge, congratulations to him. And
absolutely.
He had almost a 10 WAR this year, played 152 games, 179 hits, batting average 331. I mean, slugging through the roof, OPS 1.14, 144. I mean, crazy. OPS plus above 200. That's
player of the year. He was the player of the year.
Completely.
He wasn't the MVP. But he was the best
exactly.
player.
I think that's it. I mean, Raleigh is my MVP. Judge is the best player of the year. And I feel bad for Raleigh, man. And it was so stupid because I was watching the award show. They had those two guys wait for over 10, 15 minutes just for the single announcement.
And when you saw Mattingly come on the screen, you knew that it was a Yankee. You knew.
Yeah.
But somebody put in the comments, and we haven't posted it yet. Sadly, it's called the Baseball Writers Association of America Awards. Maybe that needs to change. And to Tom's point about the college football playoff committee, I'm a Georgia fan, so we get a lot of favors done for us when it comes to the CFP. But is that process flawless? It absolutely is not. Is there bias there? There absolutely is. Are decisions made based on money? They absolutely are. But we can come up with a little bit better of a process for baseball that can include the writers maybe, but not make them the end-all, be-all, the arbiters of fate, if you will.
Yeah. While the second in MVP for the National League was Kyle Schwarber, just letting you know.
Way behind.
Yeah, not even close. He only had 200 some votes. Ohani had 400 something.
420.
That's insane. It's deserved. I mean, it's just
he got all 30 first place votes.
Unanimous. Yeah. It was
unanimous. Considering that the Dodgers, despite winning the World Series, they dealt with a ton of injuries, and he couldn't even pitch the first half of the year. Ohtani. So I think in that case, there's no real argument against him because he plays both sides of the diamond, and he put up those types of numbers, and his team was dealing with pitching injuries the whole year, and they still won the division and all that stuff. Now, if I'm being a contrarian to myself, I would say if you take Ohtani off the Dodgers, do they make the playoffs? Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, they make the playoffs, of course. They probably don't win the division, but I would say that they make the playoffs for sure. So who's more valuable after Ohtani if you put that into the equation? Is it Schwarber? Do the Phillies make the playoffs without Schwarber?
I think so.
I'm not sure because Real Muto and Turner had some down years last year. Now, they did have some great pitching, but who else in that lineup was good?
I mean, Alec Boehm, I need to look at his stats. I'm an Alec Boehm truther, as many people out there know. Boehm had 287, 11 home runs, 59, so that's not 133 hits. He had a good year. So I think Phillies would have made it. They just probably wouldn't have won any. Obviously, they would have been rolled over anyway by the Dodgers. But I think they would still made the playoffs. But it's just, man, I'm curious. Again, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens in the offseason. I'm curious to see what the Phillies are gonna do. Are they gonna tear down? Are they gonna? What's gonna happen there? And I am. excited and curious if we want to do this. Maybe next week or in a couple of weeks, we'll do our free agent predictions for like the top 10 or whatever. And we'll kind of do what we did last year. I think last year, both for Soto, I think both Adam and I picked the Yankees. No, we picked the Mets, and then Tom picked the Yankees. So if you guys want to see that, let us know. We'll definitely try to do that for you guys. But I'm curious to see what like the Phillies are going to do. Obviously, what Milwaukee's going to do. I feel like Milwaukee's already set to go in many ways. They have a lot of younger players already in that roster, and
they need some power.
Some power, absolutely. But
Kyle Schwarber would be great for them
in Milwaukee, 100%. And I think they're going to spend money. And I think Ben Sherrington mentioned, speaking of another National League Central team, about the Pirates with the whole Paul Skeens situation, winning his first Cy Young award. Congratulations to him, by the way. But it just the whole situation with the Pirates, man, they better spend money, but I'm not confident that they will. It's all talk and no action whatsoever for the Pirates. So I don't know what's going to happen in Pittsburgh, but I hope Pittsburgh, spends the money. But again, the ownership there refuses to pay their players. So I don't know. Yeah. While the way the NL East fell apart this season, the Phillies would have still made it. Yeah, I agree. That's kind of what I'm saying. And against, that's the guy Jordan Beck took deep again. Just saying, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Paul Skeens will be a Dodger or a Yankee in 2 years or less.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because again, it's just the ownership is so bad in Pittsburgh. I mean,
Bob Nutting is definitely worse than Monfort now. He's
100%. Yeah. And see now, and then I'm so thankful now. I feel better now as a Rockies fan than I would be as an Angels fan, because a while ago I was like, oh man, Angels have a whole lot better than the Rockies do. Now I'm like, hey man, we're riding now. We're now. And now I don't think the Angels have a president of baseball. They're kind of like the Rockies from before we had DePodesta. It's pretty much
Artie runs the show. Yeah,
Artie runs the show, and then it's the GM, and that's pretty much it. I don't think they even have a president of baseball operations.
Their GM is a figurehead, man.
He's almost even worse than. Oh man,
I think the Rockies fans should be celebrating everywhere the fact that we have this guy in place now, and Dick is letting go.
Ooh. Hey, Fishy, he says, I hope Skeens would be like a Mariner.
Ooh, baby.
Imagine him in Seattle.
There's been some trade rumors about Tarek Skubal becoming a Seattle Mariner, which I also wouldn't hate.
Yeah. And Lux, we all agree, Adam, Tom, and I, we all agree. He deserves so much better, man. I mean, this guy used to be the face of baseball. I feel so bad for Trout, dude. But hey, he wants to say that. He chose there. Exactly.
For punishment, man.
He chose that. Yeah.
And it's extremely difficult to move that contract.
Yeah, I mean, the Angels are not going to move on from him. They're going to I don't know.
They're going to do what they can. Artie Moreno is the most.
Yep.
He's one of if not the most difficult to work for in baseball.
I'm not a Yankees fan, but he would look so good in pinstripes, Mike Trout.
I prefer to see him in Philly red.
He is an Eagles fan.
That would be good too.
That's the thing. He's an Eagle fan.
Yeah. Wild out here shouting out the Arizona Fall League Finals this week. Salt River Raptors going in last place. Oh, they finished last. I'm not worried about that. It doesn't matter. What matters is that Charlie Condon, Jared Thomas, and our friend of the pod,
raking.
Dude, they were the best players on the team. I think both of those guys. Charlie Condon looking great, proving all the doubters wrong. Jared Thomas almost even better. Cade Denton nailing it down.
There's so much talent in this organization. We just have to tap into it and to develop it correctly. Would you guys agree with that, Tom?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do agree with it. Again, it's a different mode of operation. So we just got to see how things what adjustments are made and how the players react.
Yeah. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Rockies prospect Braylon Wimmer, who was diagnosed with cancer this past week. Shout out to him and prayers go out to him and his family. Hope everything goes well. All the treatment goes well. Doesn't seem to be too serious. I'm trying to look it up here.
Devastating, man. Terrible news.
I mean, this guy, he was up there. I think he was, I'm trying to see his draft. He was an 8th round pick from a couple years ago. This past year, 296 for the Yard Goats, man. And that's in Hartford. Actually 2 teams. He was with Spokane and Hartford, but still hitting 290. Was it 298 or whatever it was? 296. in both those places and both pitcher-friendly leagues. I mean, shout out to Braylon Wimmer. Our hearts and prayers go with you, man. And we're excited for your comeback. He's going to be coming back stronger than ever next year. So stay in the fight, man. And we're all praying for you. And we all have your back, Braylon. So I know some people are doing some charity work and providing some money for Wimmer and his family. So go check that out. And maybe we can try to find a link or something for that for you folks to help out Braylon there and his family. So shout out to him there. Guys, that's pretty much it. To everybody here on YouTube for commenting, from Wild to Lux to It's Fishy, or I should say It's Fishiness. And then we have Luke, who was in here earlier. And I'm probably forgetting a couple other people. Arlek, he was in here. Guys, thank you so much for being in here. We appreciate you. Wi-Fi, he was in here as well. If you have not yet subscribed to us on YouTube, feel free to do so. We're over 150 now on YouTube in terms of subscribers. Thank you so much. It only goes up from here. Follow us on Instagram. Follow myself, Tom, and I on and Adam on the Instagrams and Twitters. If you have any questions, just let us know. We'd love to reach out to you and talk to you about Rockies baseball or just baseball stuff. We'd love to talk to you guys about that. Fishy, we appreciate you. Lux, thank you so much. We'll see you all later next week, hopefully, and maybe we'll see a new GM in place by that point. But until then, we'll talk to you all later.
Beat the Chiefs.
As always, beat the Chiefs. That's right. It's Chiefs week. And stay tuned to Bronx Bros. Stay tuned to Bronx Bros. Stuff cooking over there. All right, guys. Have a good night.